What's new in information systems? IT innovation. So these are buzzwords that you've heard, but you might not be able to explain it in your own words. That's what we're going to do right now. So the first one is cloud computing. We're all using cloud computing right now. So I'll just going to put it in terms you can understand. If the data or the application you're using is not on your local computer, then it's cloud computing. How do you know if it's on your computer or not? Well, if you access it via your web browser, everything you access via your web browser is cloud computing. For example, I have Gmail right here. So I do have installed a browser, but the application Gmail, this data and this application are on Google's servers. In what we call these servers, they're on the internet somewhere. We call it a cloud. Because why is it called a cloud? We don't have to worry about it. So we don't have to worry about installing Gmail, updating Gmail, saving the data. It's all taken care of for us in the cloud. The same with Drive. So if you have all these files on your local computer, it's not cloud computing. But if you put it all on Google Drive, your data is in the cloud. And you don't have to worry about your hard drive crashing or not having access to your home hard drive, right? You can access it anywhere, anytime, as long as you have internet. These slides are cloud computing. Moodle is on a server at UB that's considered cloud computing. All the data and the application reside on a server that's not your personal computer. This H5P that I'm using to make and edit these slides is cloud computing. The images, the screen recorder, Facebook, and YouTube. So you use cloud computing all the time. You might not know it, but now you know, right? So that's cloud computing. Big data. Big data is another buzzword that you're going to hear a lot. Whenever you hear big data, it goes side by side with artificial intelligence, that's AI, and machine learning. These concepts, you're going to hear them, but they always go together. And most of organizations and police use information systems, and they use it for operations. So an example would be, we use Moodle. So Moodle, I can deliver the content, and then I can collect the assessments, grade it, and give it back. This is for operations, right? However, we don't use this informed decision making. We don't use it to see trends on how good your grades are, if you are doing good, or if you're doing poorly, or we don't use Zenagrade. We use it to make sure that you're registered or not registered, but we don't look at what's coming next. Are we having more students coming in? Are we going to use that information to know how many adjuncts to hire? We're not using information technology in the police context for informed decision making. We're using it more for operations, right? Keep that in mind. In developed countries, they've been using it for information systems for operations for many years, and now large corporations and organizations would never make decisions without it being based on all the past data, and when you want to convert that data into information to make the decisions, we use programming techniques called machine learning and artificial intelligence. So those three go together right there. The Internet of Things, again, I don't know how much we're using it here, but it's all of devices other than computers, phones, and laptops that are connected to the internet. So webcams, you might know in police, we have a lot of webcams. They're connected to the internet, and you can see it. But in developing countries, they have their thermostat, their AC, their fans, their lights, all of these connected to the internet. So that's called the Internet of Things. We have it a little bit here with webcams. I don't know any other Internet of Thing applications we're using here. Mobile digital platforms, you all know that is everything that you can do on your computer, you can do on your phone, pretty much. And AI in machine learning are programming tools to analyze this big data to make informed decision making. Keep that in mind, informed decision making. New business model, so that's IT. So we're always thinking about MIS as three things. So this is the IT, this is what's innovation. And then when we're talking about the business side, new business models, online streaming of music and video, on-demand e-commerce service. And since the pandemic, now we have online education. So in police, we have online primary, secondary, and tertiary education. This is a new business model for UB, going wholly online, right? E-commerce expansion. So here are some figures for the States. That's really big. $1 trillion in 2018. Americans spend on e-commerce. It's since the pandemic, 1 year of the pandemic, that's more than doubled, right? So Amazon is doing very, very well. It's way forward, and the pandemic has just pushed us that way more. In Belize also, we now see more e-commerce. So people were like, well, why would you need e-commerce? So now you need it because of the pandemic. Netflix is growing. We all use that all over the world, not just the US. Here also, online services now approaching online retail and revenue. Services, online services, that would be education services, right? So, and retail is when they're selling you something, and the services when they're providing a service online. And mobile advertising is now larger than desktop advertising, right? Because, of course, you get all the ads in Facebook and on your phone, and that's more. People interact with their mobile devices more often these days. And then the third thing, management changes. Managers are using social networks as collaboration tools. I mentioned that earlier, that organizations pay for social networking tools to be used only internally to facilitate collaboration, working together. So it's not just something like your email. You have the chat and you have all these postings. So internal to large organizations, there's social networks. Collaboration tools, that's more like the Google Apps that we're using now, right? Business intelligence. Business intelligence is another term that goes along with big data, AI and machine learning. It's for informed decision making, right? So more and more organizations are using business intelligence, big data, artificial intelligence, and machine learning to make informed decision making. Virtual meeting proliferate? Yes, of course. Now we all do our meetings virtually, which before the pandemic we didn't. Right? So this is all that's happening. This was happening before the pandemic. This has just been accelerating. How are firms and organizations changing? They're more collaborative, less emphasis on hierarchy and structure. So again, we'll use the example about UB. It doesn't really matter as much your degree or if you're the chair or the dean. It's more important if how well you collaborate. And there's an emphasis on competencies and skills. Do you know how to make these recordings? Do you know how to teach effectively online? Can you teach yourself and learn new skills to be able to provide new services such as online teaching and learning? Higher speed, more accurate decision making based on data analysis. Here's again, informed decision making that is being used all over the world, not as much in the Belize context, and we need to be. More willingness to interact with consumers on social media, better understanding the importance of IT. Everything that we covered in these 3 slides were trending already, and the worldwide pandemic has just speeded up this movement towards the innovations, new business models, e-commerce expansion, management changes, and how the firms and organizations are changing as well.